In this episode, OpenSuse project releases major update, Microsoft to enable Visual Studio on Linux and Mac OS X, 3 top Linux options for your netbook, and how to defrag a Linux system. QuickSurf Internet Media presents Linux News Log, separating the Linux and open source signal from the noise. Hey everybody, how's it going? I'm your host Adrian, coming to you almost live from lovely Phoenix, Arizona here at Studio BR2 at QuickSurf Internet Media. Linux News Log is a proud member of the Tech Podcast Network. This is the Season 10 premiere, and without further ado, let's go ahead and get into the news for this episode. At v3.co.uk, they have an article, OpenSuse project releases a major update. Now, we've previously talked about this, but now they've actually released it. The 11.2 OpenSuse is a free, secure, Linux-based operating system. It features the latest versions of Firefox, OpenOffice, GNOME, and KDE, and about 1,000 other open-source desktop applications, server software, and development tools. And so the Novell-sponsored OpenSuse, they've been making a lot of noise about it. It's finally available. You can get it in 4 versions for both x86 and x86 64 platforms. And it's got a ton of stuff. It's a great option for those of you who are Novell shops, or even if you're just a small business or a medium business and you want a good business type Linux distribution. This is a good option for that, so definitely check that out. Let's talk about our sponsor for this episode, GoToAssist Express. If you're in technical support, you know how much time and money it takes seeing customers or colleagues in person. You can spend less time fixing the problem by using remote support. The easiest and fastest I found is GoToAssist Express. It lets you resolve issues faster. You can reduce your travel costs, which is a big plus for me, increase your customer satisfaction, and move on to another task or customer more quickly. I've used GoToAssist Express and it's great. I can't tell you how many hours I've saved in just doing something as simple as helping my mom and dad with a computer problem. Before using GoToAssist Express, I always had to drive out to Mesa, where their house is, to help them out. Now it's just a simple phone call, and I can jump right onto their system remotely and fix whatever the issue is. So it's been a huge time saver for me. I want you to try GoToAssist Express free for 30 days. For this special offer, visit gotoassist.com/techpodcast. That's gotoassist.com/techpodcast. From Danny Webb, Microsoft to enable Visual Studio on Linux and Mac OS X. Now, the title of this is a little misleading because it's not actually Visual Studio that they're enabling. Basically, the gist of this story is, and I've been paying a lot of attention to this because I happen to be a user of this product. There's a software called TeamPrise, and they're a division of SourceGear, and they build tools that give developers access to the Visual Studio 2008 Team Foundation server for systems running on Linux, Mac OS X, Unix, or even if you're a Windows user and you're using a different IDE than Visual Studio, it gives you access to the source control server so that you can versionize your code without using Visual Studio to do it. The IDE. So I knew about this a couple weeks ago before it started hitting the wires, because TeamPrise emailed all their registered users and told them what was going on. And I'm a little concerned about this, but as always, we'll have to see what it is. But basically, I use Clips to develop a bunch of Java projects, and the company I'm at, I can't really say right publicly, but the company I'm at has a bunch of Visual Studio development, and so I'm one of the few Java guys there actually. And so we use TeamPrise on Windows as a plugin to Eclipse to allow us to versionize our code. So I'm kind of curious what Microsoft is going to do with this. It works really well from TeamPrise, so hopefully they'll just keep it the same, and that would be awfully nice. From PC World, they have an article here, 3 top Linux options for your netbook. Now, this is kind of cool. mainly because netbooks are slightly underpowered and Windows Vista is terrible on them. Windows 7 remains to be seen, and sometimes you can get Windows XP on there, but really, if you really want to get some level of performance out of your netbook, your best option is to have some version of Linux on there. And so this article goes through and talks about what your options are, what the best options are if you're going to load Linux on a netbook. The 3 distributions that it talks about, I've not tried all 3 of them. I do, however, stand behind one of them, and it's the Ubuntu Netbook Remix from Canonical. I'm a huge Ubuntu fan, but they also cover Moblin from the Linux Foundation and Jolly Cloud, which I've talked about previously, which is an upcoming spinoff of UNR. So it goes through things to look out for, some of the stuff you should look for. It's a 4-page article, so I'm not going to go into all the details, but if you're in the market for a netbook or you have a netbook and you're not happy with the operating system, this is definitely something that you might want to check out. For our how-to section, I found this article on the New York Times in their personal tech section, and it's a little bit older, but I thought that it would be appropriate, especially for those that are a little bit newer to Linux, or they're moving over from Windows and they're like, hey, with Windows, defragging your system is a big deal. I mean, that's something that you got to do, or your system after a few months of use really slows down to a crawl, right? So this is entitled How to Defrag a Linux System. And I know a lot of you veteran Linux guys out there are like, oh, come on, why are we even talking about this? Well, this is appropriate because there are a lot of Windows users that are trying Linux out and they're wondering, hey, can I defrag this? There was a question brought up. It says, I recently bought a netbook with Ubuntu as its operating system. I'd like to know if there's any simple way to defragment the hard drive. The help manual for the system talks only about a complete start over with reinstalling the OS rather than defragmenting it. The answer provided by the author, J.D. Beersdorfer, I hope I pronounced this correctly, but I found this useful, especially for new users who may not necessarily know anything about this, but he points out that if you're using FAT3 or NTFS on Windows, you typically need to defragment, but Ubuntu comes with a different file system, ext3, and it's not as critical to defragment them because by design, it tries to keep everything all together anyway. So it's not so much of an issue. And with ext4, one of the newer file systems that's not really super common yet, but is getting there, we'll have a built-in defragmenter anyway. So there won't be any need or worry to have to go in and manually defragment your system. However, with all that said, there's a weblog out there called Web Update, and it has some tips for doing so, and it provides a link for doing that. So if you're really determined and you just have to, you feel that you have to defragment this thing, you still can. All right, that'll pretty much do it for this edition of Linux News Log, the Season 10 premiere episode. I thank you so much for listening, and as always, you can visit us on the web, linux.quicksurf.com, or you can shoot me an email, linux@quicksurf.com. I've got a Twitter account, twitter.com/Adrian_bacon. And there's a bevy of other links to ways you can keep track of me or follow me or friend me or however you want to do it. But by all means, keep in touch. And for those of you watching on YouTube, feel free to subscribe. If you are not a YouTube user and you just want the audio portion of the show, visit my website, linux.quicksurf.com. I have a link in the show notes to subscribe to either the MP3 or OGG Vorbis feed to get the just the audio portion only. And I also have links to manually download the video links. You can get it in HD as well if you so desire. It's all MPEG-4. So with that, I will see all of you on the next episode. See you then. Bye.